Hey folks, I want to talk a little bit about God-given rights and how there aren't any, right? And so it's important to realize that God doesn't give us rights. God didn't give us rights. Um, really, Thomas Jefferson put that in the Declaration of Independence, that our rights are endowed by the Creator. But he actually based it off of, was it John Locke? His thoughts of natural rights or human rights or natural human rights of liberty and property and life. And he kind of reworded it, I think, to make it sound better. But the Declaration of Independence doesn't guarantee us anything. It doesn't guarantee us anything. It doesn't matter what the Declaration of Independence was. That was only a list of grievances against England to tell them why we were going to become an independent nation. We didn't have a constitution yet. We hadn't had all those fights yet. We didn't know how the government was going to work yet. We still had to figure all that out. First, we had to go fight to get our freedom from England. And the first step was to tell England why we wanted to separate. And so I think the Declaration of Independence here, let's read from the first part of it, the preamble. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so, John Locke would have said life, liberty, and property, but pursuit of happiness sounds better than acquiring property, right? It's rewritten, I think, by Thomas Jefferson to make it sound better, right? To word it out better. But this isn't the law. This isn't the Constitution. This isn't the Bill of Rights, right? This isn't it. In fact, if we read from the actual Constitution, let's see where it is here. The preamble to that says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." So here we don't see that, like, the Constitution doesn't say, we are taking our God-given rights and writing them down to protect them. That's not what it says. In fact, the Constitution really doesn't mention God, especially the Bill of Rights, right? And so it's important to realize that, because everybody can believe in a different God and can believe in God in a different way. They can believe God doesn't exist, and rights can be changed by the people who speak for God. So you would have went to a person, a minister or somebody, 100 years ago, and be like, well, is slavery okay? And they probably would have come up with a reason that it was okay. But it's not okay, right? It's not okay, and it's not okay according to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, right? And it wasn't the idea behind the Declaration of Independence. It says all men are created equal, right? But then that got changed. So it's important to realize that when you say God gives you these things and He doesn't, that's men giving them to you, and men can take them away, right? And so that's important. And so that changes the way we have to fight for our rights. We can't stand up and be like, these are our God-given rights, because they're not. God doesn't give us the rights, right? The pursuit of happiness, God doesn't teach us that happiness comes from acquiring property and things. God teaches us that happiness, true happiness, comes from accepting Christ and receiving God's love, right? God doesn't, God doesn't, say that we have a right to the freedom of speech or the right to keep and bear arms. In fact, you could probably make a lot of arguments. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. right? But God does make some exceptions for defense in the Bible. And Jesus did tell the disciples to sell their cloaks and buy a weapon. So, even God realized there is a need for defense, but these rights aren't given to you by God. They're inherent human natural rights that you have. And it's important because we don't want to get them taken away. So we need to work with our legislators. And our legislators are the only ones that really have the power to really write some laws, right? And then when they write a law, we have to take that to the Supreme Court and be like, no, that's a violation of the Bill of Rights, right? The only way that the real Bill of Rights can be changed is through a constitutional convention, a convention of states. So it's important to realize that. They can further refine it a little bit, and, the right to keep and bear arms, that could mean you have a right to a 1.5-inch pocket knife, right? Or you have a right to a .380 pistol, but you don't have the right to an AK-47. So where do we draw the line, And that's a good thing to ask, right? Everybody's going to have a slightly different opinion. I think you should be allowed to own fully automatic weapons. I don't think they should be illegal. Other people might think that you shouldn't be able to. But I don't think that people should be allowed to have a thermonuclear missile in their backyard. But maybe some people do. So, we have to further define those things. And, but at the end of the day, we have the right to keep and bear arms. And what is that right? I think personally it means, AK-47s, fully automatic weapons. I don't have a problem with that. I don't really have a problem with people being able to own grenades and have explosives as long as they use them in a safe manner. But, you have to draw the line somewhere, and everybody's going to draw that line at a different place. And so that's what they're really trying to do, right? They're trying to move that line back, right? So that, you can only have a magazine of 10 rounds. Oh, only a magazine of 5 rounds for rifles. Only 7 rounds in a pistol. Oh, your pistol has to be at least this long. Oh, you can only have a shotgun, and it can't be an auto-loading or a pump-action shotgun. Only a single-barrel or double-barrel shotgun. And they'll keep moving that line back because they believe that the way to keep everybody safe is to basically disarm the citizens so you have less of a chance of those big evil weapons falling in the hands of evil people. And, I kind of lean the other way. I kind of say, you know what? People are always going to be able to get weapons. And there's always going to be evil people. And they might only have a knife, or they might have a chainsaw, or they might have a single shotgun or a double-barrel shotgun. I want to have the best gun that I can have to fight them with, because I don't want it to be a fair fight. If they're evil and I'm not evil and I'm trying to defend myself and live, I don't want it to be a fair fight, right? I want to be able to take them down, right? So, but that's the battle that we're actually fighting. And I think it's important to realize that. These people aren't trying to take away our God-given rights. They're trying to further define what arms should be, right? And there's plenty of people that believe arms should just be a musket because that's all they had back then. But, that obviously doesn't work to defend yourself against tyranny because the tyrants aren't going to show up with muskets, right? So, and most criminals aren't going to show up with a musket. So you have to kind of keep that balance there. But that's important, I think, to have that, to know that your rights don't come from God. They come from men and institutions, not from God. And the Declaration of Independence was just a list of complaints. It's not the law. You have no right to the pursuit of happiness, right? But you have rights that you could pursue happiness in the Constitution. But I think a lot of people don't know or don't realize that the Declaration of Independence is just a list of complaints that we sent to England to say why we were becoming a free country. It's not a part of our law. right? It's not. It's a part of history, but it's not part of our current law. Our current law is the Bill of Rights, which is amended by the full Constitution. So, um, anyway, let me know what you think. It's just, you know, it's written by humans, it's conceived of by humans, it's a great experiment by humans, and humans are fallible, and humans will eventually screw it up, right? So it's important to realize that you have to go back and try to not only keep from screwing it up more, but try to unscrew up some of the things that have already been screwed up. And that's the fight that you're actually fighting. You're not fighting for God, or they're not fighting against God, because God didn't give us these rights. These are rights that we decided that we had as natural rights for humans. So, anyway, that's all I got. Let me know what you think down below. This is Tommy Frugal Prepper.